Where are you gonna see?
I know, I have to watch it. Are you serious? Just get to the truck. Yeah, well, don't even have your jacket on. Probably cold. Don't take your jacket on for about 30 minutes. Our relationship. Well, if it's already moved. Or get our scanners throughout. Black in the middle. Yeah. There's an emergency, that's when our kids go crazy.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming this morning to talk about numbers, boring budgets. So, we are recording this on Zoom so that we'll have it live on our website, so those that didn't make it can watch the PowerPoint presentation this morning. First of all, I'd like to thank my entire staff for the hard work that we've done over the last 5.5 months, working on this budget. It's been a tough year. It's been a tough year for all the clubs out there as well. I do have a mic that's in the center aisle, so if you have a question, please use it. So those in Zoom or that are streaming can hear you. All right, so we're going to just start the very basics of our total revenue that we have here at the club. That includes our social and golf. So at $12,961,489 of total revenues at the club, of which 45% of the $5.8 million is for social maintenance fees. Our golf maintenance fees are 25% at $3.2 million. Administrative fees coming in are at 4%, golf operations at 7%, and the restaurant operations at 19%. So the golf operations of $910,417 is the revenue for the gross profit that goes to the social operations. The gross operating revenues are $11,596,884, of which you can see the golf operations less the cost of sales, which is social operations, is $508,520. Our total expenses are $11,596,884, which are the total of our gross revenues coming in. We're a nonprofit organization. You have to have no profit. So everything we have is the revenue coming in and the expenses. Our total payroll related is 49% of our total expenses. 51% are our total expenses. So we have, a total amount of employees of 136 total. So we have equivalent of full-time employees of 100.25 employees. Members to employees, 12.8. For the RSM Florida Zero Trend, major clubs are at 8.9. So we have more members that have to wait on our servers and employees versus, so the trend, normally we want to be at 8.9, but to keep the budget where it is, we have less employees waiting on numbers. You can see the operating expenses are $5.9 million of the 51% of the operating expenses, which 54% of that, which is $3.1 million, is administrative. You only have 1% of your fitness. Your golf course is 17% of the total expenses. Your court sports is only 1%, and your pro shop 6%, your common grounds 12%, and your restaurant 8%, and your pool 1%. And we're going to go into detail on this. This is just a summary right now. We're going to get into the guts as we go along here of all the expenses that we have here. You're going to know the ins and the outs, what it takes to run the operation. I've always been asked, what is our total utilities that we have here? It's $366,000 worth of utilities, which you're going to see that FP&L had a 4% increase, and then we had a major increase in the county utilities. Hotwire, our vision, our bulk TV and our internet that we have is 23% of our operating expenses. So that's $1.3 million. We had an automatic 4% increase that's coming again in May. When we get to 2025 in May, we will have a 0% increase. And then 3% in May of 26 and 2% all the way until the end of 2030. That's a fixed contract. So you're paying $90.46 per household for your internet and your cable, which is a lot better than I pay the Comcast that I have at my house. It's $220. Liability insurance, that is 9% of our operating expenses. It's $500,000. You have our $3 million aggregate. We have $1 million bond per occurrence. A $10 million umbrella, D&O insurance of $1 million with a $10 million umbrella on top of that. And then our buyback main storm. You can see a few of the pictures I'm adding here. You can see when we had a hurricane. We were bringing sandbags to the parking lot, the trees down, the cutting of the trees, all the damage that we had. And luckily we did have our buyback insurance. We got 3% of our total expenses back from the insurance company with a maximum of $420,000 for windstorm damage. That's a shared expense, 20% to the golf operations and 80% to the social. Negotiated contracts over the last 5 months. Yes, every line item, we look at expenses. We try to talk to different contractors, bringing the prices down, holding them to the amount of their contracts or reducing them. So you can see our preserve maintenance, they didn't increase us. Our payroll services had no increase. Our lake maintenance had none. We did our irrigation maintenance contract with Coastal, which is a fixed fee through 2026. Our stream drain, you'll see this every 6 years, we're doing our storm drain, so that you're not having flooding in your streets. That's $45,000 that we have budgeted this year, or should say 2024. RSM is a fixed contract. We had no increase on our pool service, no increase on Rick Roberts, no increase on our computers. Our health insurance went up 19%. It was over 50% when we got our first initial bid. And yes, we do run out of contract. We have agents that goes out to 6 different large group carriers. All right. This is a roadmap that I added this year to say, what is the summary of this? How come our dues are going up? Increase in social revenue. What increases did we have? We increased our golf revenue by adding guest fees at a higher, amount of $74,000. Interest income, we're earning more money on our operating account, 4.95%. That's $48,000. The dining average price that we anticipated the dollar increase is 50 cents on alcohol. That brings in an additional $162,000. And there's a lot of categories in and out, and that's a decrease of $11,000. So the total social revenue increase is $273,635. What were the increases on our expenses? We eliminated our service charge, $389,000. Hot wire was an increase of $52,000. Utilities were an increase of $37,000. And our storm drainage, I just talked about, $45,000. Am I going too fast, or is that a good pace? Good. Then we had a liability insurance of $87,000 increase. Payroll and related was $127,000. Our gate attendant was $11,907, and the accumulation of items of $42,000. So our increase in social expenses were $792,908. Taking the increase in our revenues of $273,000, with the expenses that had to come out, we had an increase in our dues of $520,000, which is $403 a year, $100.75 more. The golf expenses, they don't have any revenue. Payroll related went up $111,000. Liability insurance went up $24,000. Irrigation pump replacement of $15,738. Along with our utilities of almost $15,000. Our GPS rental for our 15 extra fleets. We didn't have it this last season. We needed to add it to this one so that we can use the cart. If you don't have a GPS on the cart, nobody wants to use them. Tree trimming, we're gonna have to do our hardwoods, $15,000. An accumulation of ins and outs of $9,271. So we had a $204,000 increase in our golf expenses. Looking at that, the increase of the golf dues is $246 annually, $61.50 a quarter. So that in a nutshell is the summary, so that everyone realizes, but now we're gonna get into the detail. So we're gonna start with the social operating budget. Golf is at the end. I gotta make it play it. Didn't want to do that. All right, so administrative expenses, we're gonna start breaking it out into social operating, operations, so we're gonna start with the administrative expenses. So we have $4.1 million in administrative expenses, of which 33% of it is hot wire. Gate attendant is 5%, payroll and related is 24%, and we have electric and utilities of another 4%, and our insurance is 10%. Then we have the miscellaneous of $996,000, which is 24% of the $4.1 million. That's a big number. Where did that come from? So I have it in detail just where this all comes from. Our cleaning service is $136,000. Copy of postage, the printing of $47,000. Building AC maintenance of $90,000. Computer support to have all of our computers working correctly, along with our servers. Legal, H2B legal in our 3 Oaks Parkway, $106,000. Securing our H2B housing, $19,000. So you're gonna say, what is that, securing our H2B? If we recall last year, Target Housing, they no longer want to do corporate housing of 6 months, because that's what we need. They pay the H2Bs while they're here. They pay for their own housing. It's payroll and deducted. But in order to secure it, we had to go to 8 months. Last year, we had to go to 10 months. So it did come down, and you'll see that difference that we have. Our bank fees are $61,648. Special events, you can see Lenny Saunders there, casino coming back. Lenny, I hope you don't mind, I'll put your picture up there. Horse and buggy that we used to have for Christmas, dinner dance. We're not doing the horse and buggy for 2024. And we're not doing it in December of this year, but I won't tell you what it is. All right, so we have some decorations, our telephones, our audit and tangible taxes, our supplies, all the hand towels, the toilet paper, the cleaning utensils, 71,000. Continuing education and travel, $4,000. DirecTV, 11,000. Employee incentives, 37,000. I was asked to get rid of employee incentives. Why do you have it? Your key asset here is your employees. You gotta take care of them. So having an employee incentive to at Christmas time, thanking them for everything they did, giving them a lunch, giving them a little bonus of, $200, something like that, or at the end of season, taking them off site to go at head pins and bowl and just get out of the atmosphere and say, thank you, and our H2B, let's do another season, and they come back. Then we have our entertainment of $25,700. That's for Friday evening. So starting October through April, every Friday night you have an entertainment, and we have once a month on Super Tuesday. Association dues and licensing was $21,000. Our pest control, gate transponders that we have to have, employee meals. Let's talk about employee meals because you're going to see this. There was a nice decrease of cutting down. What it is, an employee that is a manager gets a comp meal. It's a special menu that the cost is $4. Okay, so they have to order from that menu. If they want to order from what you order from, they have to pay full price on. All the other employees, if they would like to get a 50% discount on their cost of this, which is $4. And other of $83,926 with another 100 line items. Then we have our employees that we have as administrative and court support. You can see we have myself, we have our controller, we have our member service manager, office coordinator, accounting administrative assistant, maintenance manager, our maintenance part-time, our court sports director, tennis professional and seasonal, tennis court maintenance on the weekends, 2 pro shop merchandisers. So we have 10 full-time, a seasonal, and 2 part-time, 13 people. And you see the bright yellow, that's Robin Logan. Robin, you're back, want to stay now? Computers as a controller doing an excellent job. Now we're moving on to the common grounds, $734,188, of which you have the landscaping and tree trimming and our mulching of 32%, our fertilizer and pest control of 12%. You have our irrigation pump station, 12%, our repairs and maintenance, our preserves, our lakes, our swales that we have to maintain. We have to maintain a swale from Legend all the way to Colony that goes to the 6 mile loop. And our electric utilities, and there's that $45,000 for the drainage. So there's $58,860 for miscellaneous expense. What is it? You have your annual plan, $25,000, fountain pump maintenance of $8,500, gate repairs, light signs or flags on the common areas, aerator maintenance, and our backflows that have to be certified. These are just some pictures of some erosion and blowouts that we had. Then we have our court sports and our pool of $339,405. Of which court sports is $273,000, of which you have your payroll related, your electric and water, your supplies, repairs and maintenance on the court, and miscellaneous of $821. Our pool, the cleaning is $34,000, our repairs and maintenance is $19,950, and our water license and permits is $12,000. Our fitness expenses, we outsource our fitness classes, which we do on a daily basis of 3 classes. Except for Sundays, we do not have one. On Saturdays, we have 2. So you can see, I took a picture of the water aerobics that everyone loves so much. We have gym license, sterilizing the gym, of $2,850 and repairs. So then we got our food and beverage operation that we're gonna move into next, in which total revenues is $2.4 million, which 66% of that is food, and then we've got 13%, which is liquor, our beer is 8%, soft beverages are 2%, our unmet food minimum of $22,000, our cafe, and our wine of 8%. Gross profit, taking up the blend of the cost of sales, you can see that we go down to $1,492,100. Our restaurant expenses of $3 million, of which 85% is payroll related. They're here to serve you. In which then you have your LP gas, your laundry and linen for the tables and your napkins, our supplies, entertainment and decorations for the special events, which we'll get to. And then we have $165,920 in miscellaneous, of which are employee meals that we just discussed, is just in that department. Employee certification, we've got equipment repairs and rentals, our license and permitting, the complimentary snacks, which are your Lay's potato chips, your goldfish, and your peanuts. Okay, so that costs $19,519. What the pictures here? And then you have your complimentary coffee, which is $5,275 at the cafe. We recall about 4 years ago, we reduced the coffee all day long. It used to be $19,000. Then we have the trash removal, our hand clocks, that employees got to clock in with the use of their fingerprints. Trash, uniforms, and then $11,607 miscellaneous. Total restaurant employees, we have a total of 80 restaurant employees, which are 19 full-time, 35 HCBs, 3 seasonal, 20 part-time, and 3 seasonal part-time employees. So we have the front of the house, which are your director of food and beverage, Lisa, food and beverage manager, David, our dining room manager, which is Kristen, our bar captain, which we have a new bar captain, which is Frank. Ricardo, he had a newborn and he didn't know he needs to spend more evenings at home, helping take care of his children. Then you got 2 full-time bartenders, part-time bartender, 5 HGB seasonal bartenders, 2 full-time servers, 13 part-time servers, 20 HGB seasonal servers, 1 full-time runner, 2 HGB seasonal runners, 2 part-time food busters, and 2 part-time seasonal hosts. Now you ask why you have so many HGBs. You can't even get people to come for an employee that are interested in job to show up for their job training. I can give for instance, Lisa was interviewed for bar captain. I had a member come to my office and say, somebody's soliciting out there. So I went out there. There was a guy that was interviewing for the bar captain position, and he had 2 friends with him. They were out talking to you as members in the parking lot, asking for $5 so they could get home. Like, came in and told Lisa, I didn't use them. But I gave them $5, told them to stay in their car, and asked them to go on their way, as they were, not even all with the program. So it's hard to find good people. Back of the house, we have 10 full-time, 3 seasonal, 2 HGB seasonal, and 1 part-time. What's part-time seasonal? So we have 22 employees, of which you'll see there are 8 HGB seasonal cooks. And then we have the employees at the cafe, which are 3 part-time. Now I have to say, I love that look of that hot dog there. All right, so how do we get our budget with restaurants? 85% is your payroll related. So on the payroll, Renee, where did you get the number from? Because each department, front of the house and the back of the house, actually creates the work schedule sheet that I provided for them. every day, every employee, what their time frames are gonna be working. So you can see here that we've got, I just picked a few. So on January 14th, Jovan is not gonna work that day, but he's gonna work on Monday from he's gonna work, he's gonna do a 12-hour shift on Sunday, not working on Monday, working 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Tuesday, and then he's off. So they have their hourly rate pay. It adds it up for every week, so we already have a working schedule. We do not budget for overtime. So if we have overtime, we hope we have revenue coming in, but I can tell you for every dollar we bring in, the $1.62 going out. So that's in the front of the house. Back of the house is the same. Chef creates his mock schedule to say who's working, when are they working, how many hours, what are their hourly pay, to come up with over $3 million of payroll and related. So if we take that Candace on our pastry shop on the top there, maybe some of our creations that were done. But if you look at our cost of sales, the total amenity subsidy is $1,530,716, which for every member, that's $99 a month. And as a reminder, the subsidy went up this year due to the fact that we moved the service charge. We eliminated service charge. That was $383,000. So actually, we got creative because we were at a $1.5 million loss this year. We got creative, bringing in $383,000 more. So let's say your lunch is worth $13. Chef gets $5.46 to make your lunch. So that's for every piece of ingredient, which is your French fries, your pickles, your onions, your tomatoes, your lettuce, your hamburger, your ketchup, the paper products. I mean, so I know that when we have special events, everyone's, why is it so expensive? On large special events, we do a higher cost of sale than what we do back here of 42%. When we have such as welcome back party tomorrow night, which we had 375 people coming, we try to do a higher cost of sales to even it out, so it'll be more than 50% versus the 42. But when you have ladies' leagues, men's leagues, we can't play away just, trying to give you the best price because we do have parameters that we have to stick to. So then we have our special events that we have. So we're proposing trivia night, our 25th anniversary, Corks and Forks, Valentine's comedy night, quarter auction, casino night, not so newlywed game, our concert with Queen on February 29th, another trivia, St. Patrick's Day, and Easter egg hunt, Scotch dinner, Easter trivia again, and the season, welcome back, Christmas dinner again, and the whole process starts over again. You can see John Thomas and his wife having a good time. That was on New Year's. Mr. Vittini with Santa. I see you were Mr. Vittini. All right. So, how many covers did we budget for in 2024? And how did we get those covers to come up with a number of revenues? We budgeted 95,094 covers, of which we are anticipating 94,094 this year. So how do we get it? Every day, every month, we put in how many lunches we think we're going to get, what are our special events. So we're looking here at February where we say bingo on a Monday. We're going to have 150 covers. The cost for the food is $23, and we're going to have 2 of them, that's $5,900. We've got in there the Italian American Club dinner on February 23rd. That will have 85 at $38 a head. So then you go down to the bottom section of the pub and dining room. How many covers are we going to have? And our average ticket price is $13 for our lunches and $19 for dinner. Now that's the average blended. So you might have a lot of, pizzas, which are less money, but they're a workhorse. You got stars up here, you got workhorses. Those workhorses bring in, the covers coming in that help with the amount that it costs to make a pizza versus a hamburger. Then we got the tariffs, so we still got $13 and $19. So it comes to, in February, $243,000 of revenue. And then we blend a percent to come with alcohol sales and soft beverage. So our total dining revenues are $2.4 million. Our total expenses are $3.9 million, which the blended cost of products, payroll, and expenses comes to $3.9 million. So there's your $1.62 for every dollar of revenue coming in. Why are we profitable? Why aren't we like a restaurant? Because we're unique. We don't have table turns. You're here socializing with your friends, your neighbors, your family, and you'll be at each location. You might stay all night. So we never have the table turns that you have at normal restaurants. This is your living room. So now I've taken it to compare where we are in revenues from this year versus proposed for next year. So you can see administrative income has more revenues of $35,793 coming in. Our golf course operations, $84,000 more coming in, which with that is due to the fact of increasing the guest fees. Retail less cost of sales is a slight decrease of $10,000. We had that increase of the cost of sales, I should say decrease of it this year, in which it's just blended down around the play base. And restaurant cost of sales, we brought in $162,000 more. And there's our maintenance fees, $520,000. So we did have overall a 10.5% increase, which in the very beginning, the major blend of those increases of what we had in revenues was in front. But I've got into the back in a little more detail. So you have administrative income, we had $48,000 more of interest income coming in. Miscellaneous income of $8,200. Sport usage fees, $15,000 less. What was that? There was an error in the 2024 budget. If you recall, we charged $10 for outside guests to use, to get a lesson here. And we overstated that by a clerical error. Restaurant, there's $163, and golf operations increased the golf rates for member guests and renters, brought in $75,735. Based on our current base storage, $5,000 more, and then $3,735 miscellaneous recyclables. Comparison of expenses, so we had an increase of $300,000 of administrative. Sports went down $14,219. We no longer have a seasonal part-time pickleball pro. Restaurant expenses went up $469,149. That's due to the fact of the $389,000 of elimination of the service charge. Common grounds, $80,000, which $45,000 was for the storm drains that we have to clear out. And our pool and fitness went down $18,000. That's due to Powerhouse and less extra classes for workout. So looking at the administrative $300,000 that we had of expenses, here's the detail that shows you what those come from. So you had your table of $52,000, your gate attendant, your bank credit charges of $21,000, entertainment was a decrease of $1,000, and cleaning service, employee meals, that came down just in this department because of the $4 that we advanced our employee meal plan with. Supplies, liability insurance was at $87,000. HGV housing went down $14,000 because we own not needing it for the 10 months. Bad debt write-off, what is that? There's $7,799. You're going to see that also in the golf operation. We have one household of 1,291 that are more than 1 year past due. So we allot for that past due. If we get it back, then we'll be crediting that account. Our common grounds, FP&L had a 4% increase. Our tree trimming, storm drainage inspections, that's for $45,000. Repairs of the gazebo, we have one gazebo that, we actually have 3 that are needing to be replaced, but major repairs on them. So we're gonna do the one that's on Legends Boulevard and, right by Longhurst. There will be the number 1 first. Lake maintenance, $5,700, and other plus or minus $2,289. Comparison of expenses on the court sports and on pool all came down, which payroll and related, employee meals came down. Repairs and maintenance, we did have an increase of $7,000. Most of our electrical and plumbing was done in-house by David Maxwell, and his crew, and unfortunately, as our club is getting older, there's just so much of David that can move around. So we're gonna have to outsource some of those plumbing repairs, electrical, there is a problem. Club events came down 4,000, our supplies came down. Pool, rock formation is paid every 3 years. We skate it and get a nice look to it, that's $5,000. The water and sewer went up, 4,609. Fit Forever contract labor. If we remember, we budgeted for Jody Sodana to be a full-time employee here. We didn't know what was all going to happen when we were basing our budget proposal last year, in which she did retire in December. And so what it was based on her salary, payroll related and taxes versus outsourcing. We did have a credit for the next coming year. And then the Powerhouse has been funding themselves, and I thank everyone for their donations on their behalf. So that went over really well from Friday evening. Our restaurant expenses that went up, the elimination of the service charge, $389,000. Payroll related went up $8,000. Most of that related is from the health insurance increase. Employee meals went down to $21,000 with a new menu that we created. Equipment repairs, $5,970. I hope that we can stay within the equipment repairs. We're getting older, things are breaking. Entertainment increase of $3,450. That's mainly due to the fact that entertainers are also having increases. LP gas, Progressive, it came down to $18,000. It's come down the LP, and we can hope that it will remain that way. And our supplies, front of the house, back of the house, china glass and silverware, $9,000 with miscellaneous $12,000. So the department is still managing subsidies that we have that has for your losses. The restaurant is $1.5 million, common grounds is 12% of that, administrative is 55%, your pool is 2%, and your court sports is 5%. So transfer fees will remain $400. We're proposing the food minimum will remain at $500, and our outside guest court fees will remain at $10. And we've got a 5% user fee for credit cards, no increase. Which I want to talk a little bit about that. We were always anticipating when we built the budget for this year that the overall blended average of a credit card fee that Legends pays is roughly 3%. Unfortunately, it's more of almost 5%. Credit card fees have risen. We're doing some audit work. We're getting new credit card swipers that the blend of charging the 5% to your guests. We have a lot of members, even though we are cashless and credit card free, are using credit cards to do a payment for your guests. When that's been happening this year, the 5% fee has not been charged. We have new equipment coming that will be here December, put in place, in which if a member does use your credit card, you will get 5% fee. So whether you're paying for it for us or someone else, if you end up paying the credit card, which you're not supposed to, you will get that 5% fee. But we are not making 2% on the credit card fee. It's blend, it's just the average cost. The $7,000 for resale capital contribution. So we have $3,000 of the $7,000 that goes into social operations, and we have a total of $4,000 that goes into new social reserves. We also put in that there's a discount of 50% if you were using your main home and moving to a different one, so it would be $3,500, of which when that happens, $3,000 will remain in social operations and $500 only goes into the new social. And there is no increase on our stop fee. So the overall fees for the proposed social dues are going up $464, 9.8%, which includes your replacement reserves and your new social reserves, which is quarterly $116. So what are the replacement reserves and what are the new socials? Now, Tim, we have Sedgwick, which we use for our replacement reserves. They come out here every 3 years and they take pictures of all of our equipment, all of our roofing, our pools, everything to take a look to say, how long is the lifespan of that piece of equipment? Now, that lifespan may be like a roof. It's for 30 years. Maybe we'll get 35 years out of it. So 30 years later, when it's up for replacement, we're not going to replace it unless we need to. So these numbers are based upon what Sedgwick's life value of our items are. So when we have an increase of our social reserves, it's due to the fact that we had new assets brought into our balance sheet, such as we did this renovation, which we have some new assets that had to go into the reserves for 2024. So they'll tell you in the exercise equipment room, things that need to be lifespan replacement, but we're not going to replace them unless we need to. Then you have your furnishings of equipment, even like our pub television. They've been up for renewal for 4 years. They're still working. We're not going to replace them until we need to. Interior renovation and decor, the flooring in the pro shop. You know, we do need to look at that flooring. It's been not replaced for over 10 years and it's worn out. And I know we're talking about, you know, phase 2, possibly. When are we going to do that? We don't know. The flooring in the cafe is scheduled to be done. The finishes on the pro shop, our tennis, our restrooms for just door finishes, things like that, 5 years, and our locker rooms that are next door. Then we have over 16 AP units, of which these are ones that are life value for replacement, that come to $61,000. And our gatehouse roof is up for replacement of $35,000. That was up for replacement when we did this roof, all of our clubhouse. We didn't replace that roof because it doesn't need it yet. Then we have all of our kitchen equipment. You have your ice bin, you have your china, you have your heat lamps. Everyone has what's decorated heat lamps. When you're here having a buffet, you see the lamps keeping the food hot. Those are decorative heat lamps. You have your caddies and dispensers, your coolers, your food wells where you keep the different items at proper temperature for your cold cuts, your steaks, things like that. Your fryers, our glass washers. Then we have kitchen miscellaneous of $10,000. That's the pots, the pans, the spatulas. They only last so long. Then you have your different types of oven cookers and your units, your panini machines. You have your steamers. We have our water heater for the dishwasher. That comes to $268,000. Exterior painting, this has been on here for 3 years now. that we're ready for exterior painting for clubhouse. But until the House Committee or the Master Board or Long Range comes back to say that it's time to repaint this, it's just gonna float till next year. And when they do this, they look at present valuing it to how much the cost has increased or decreased. So when your reserves go up, if you didn't have any new assets that you purchased, you are still going to have that value of how much it costs more to replace it today than it did 10 years ago. Then we have our security, our transponder system, 81,000, that's been on there for 4 years. I think our transponder system is working, until the common ground says, let's research putting something new in. This is just gonna roll every year. The exit gates, the motors in the back exit gate will be for, at 11 o'clock, that closes the bar one, that has to have a major repair, so that will be something we're doing this summer. Then you have site improvements for our entry statement, our signage, our irrigation pump controller, our outdoor lighting, stormwater drainage repairs for, anything that we have for washout. 80,000, pro shop pavers, the staining over the pavers in front of the pro shop, that's done every 3 years. Court sports, then we got, the tennis court awnings that have been there for 10 years, they're up for replacement along with benches. We're not gonna replace them unless we need them. So the total anticipated not to exceed expenses for new social or for regular reserve socials is $1.1 million. So you have your cash that's anticipated January 1st, our 2024 dues coming in, the $1.1 million of expenses, our interest income with an anticipated cash balance of $559,000 at the end of next year. Then you have the new social reserve. What is new social reserve? That's reserve that's brand new. We've never had it before. So the Master Board last week said not to exceed these items, which are additional cameras for our pool area, our dining room, our activities room, portico area, and the annex, not to exceed $20,000. Doesn't mean we're going to spend $20,000, but there's enough interest to say, go out, get a bid, and find out what we can do, not to spend more than $20,000. And at the awning, the walkway between the pickleball court and court number 3, one cover up, not to exceed $50,000. The pub legend, the logo that we have in the pub, that will be lit up backlit, that will be done this summer, that will be done in-house, not to exceed $5,000. So you can see, here's our beginning cash that we'll have of almost $1.3 million. With our social reserve dues coming in, our useful capital contributions coming in, interest income, and not to exceed $75,000. Any questions on social? Because then we're going to move into our goals. Yes.
Social capital income, is that the $7,000 in the houses?
Let's go back.
Just one.
Okay, so you have new social reserve due coming in 171, and resale capital contributions of 264. That's $4,000, yes. So the 3,000 goes into social operations.
The other money?
4,000 goes into new social. We're going to play it out. This one's not as long because there's no revenue coming in. All right, so the pro shop expenses are $1 million, of which 64% are payroll related to Service US members. 9% is your cart lease. Other miscellaneous is 14%. We have 5% for your GPS leases we have. Our utilities went up, our 3% computer support, and our additional cards is 2%. Pro Shop employees, they all say hi, we try to get everyone in there, but their work schedule is, some are not here except for weekends, things like that, so they're trying to say hello, but we have 7 full-time, 2 full-time seasonal, 7 part-time, 7 seasonal part-time, for a total of 23 employees in the Pro Shop. And I have to say, Ben has really raised the bar with membership level experience here. So we have our other Pro Shop miscellaneous of $146,000, which is the commission, 3% commission on merchandise sold to our golf pro. Association dues, there's that bad debt write-off, so you can tell the person's behind their dues is a golf member. We have our cart towels, copier and postage, employee incentives, employee meals, our ice machine supplies, and our liability insurance, range expenses, office supplies, uniforms, telephones, scorecards. So that's a total of $146,000 in detail. And I have to say, they did a great job lining up these cards too. Our golf operating expenses, which Mark Thomas, you can stand up, you're back there listening to this. Welcome to our team here. You're doing a great job turning things around. So we have $2.2 million. Now, Mark has inherited this budget. This inherited, but he tells me, he promised me last night that he can make this work. So payroll related is 55%, equipment repairs are 3%, our course supplies are 22%, our utilities are 3%, our liability insurance are 4%, and then we have $297,635 miscellaneous. What is that? All right, so Mark's crew is telling you hello as well. So we have 20 full-time employees, of which there's Mark, there's Hector, our equipment manager, and of course, there's Jeremy that's in the hole with another irrigation leak. That's why we need a new irrigation system, along with Chris up there and a couple other workers. But the $297,000 that Mark has is building maintenance, his association, seminars and education. We're all about keeping everyone on top of the newest ideas and incentives. Our small tools, our cart path repairs, $20,000. I know some members feel, why are you going to repair any cart paths when you're going to possibly do a golf renovation in 2025? Well, if you're kidding, like when I went out and hit my head almost to the top from hitting that spot, there are areas that will put patina down to help with it. And I think Mark's going to use more of a shell-based patina that will pack it down. Computer support, our employee benefits, that's that portion that we thank them for their services they've done the end of the year and after season's done. Employee meals, contract labor, this is where we do our aerations that we sub that out. Supplies, debris removal, golf service, $17,963, which golf service, what is that? That's part of, Mark, when was it you put the new, sticks down the cup? That you can just lift it up to grab your ball, you no longer have to put your hand in the cup. Just a reminder, that helps, it helps on the wear and tear out there. Fuels and lubricants, irrigation pump station, and then tree trimming that we have. Along with our telephones we have to have, uniforms we have to have, a vehicle lounge, wash rack, recycled water when we're rinsing off the cart, and other of $5,509. So I just took some pictures in here of our club champions that we had Mr. Shaw, and then a few that were out there. I think one of them, you might be in that one. No? No, to the right. No, to the right, or the Lego. All right, so we're looking at the golf course expenses. The Pro Shop had a 10.6% increase in the golf operations 5.1, which overall came to 6.8 before our reserves. So we're gonna talk about the golf course equipment reserves. So we're having $312 annually, which is an increase of $100 annually. So what we have is, if we have the golf renovation in 2025, Mark will be using his existing equipment, and we're having much more repairs and maintenance. Some of that equipment we'll still be able to have, but some of the tractors and some of it needs to be replaced. So that's gonna be a tough decision that the golf committee is gonna have to make of how we're gonna do it. Are we going to lease? Are we gonna purchase? I would highly recommend we don't lease and we get a loan out for our tractors, because if you're going to get a loan out, tractors last a lot longer than 5 to 7 years. So you'll see the projected balance is $49,639, which that's because we have had a rolling almost $180,000 a year coming in for golf course equipment. And then we would purchase that for the year, the things that needed to be rolled out. So we had a 10-year cash flow plan, but we may be changing that. So then you have the golf reserves, which the golf reserves for replacement are the restroom roofs. The ice machines, they're breaking, some of them are older, but you did get a new one that is on number 6. And then the maintenance area where Mark is, the fencing and gates may need to be replaced if they break, and they do constantly have a lot of maintenance, so it might be well worth replacing them now for cost value. So the analysis of the golf reserves is what we're going to next. We have $3.3 million. We're bringing in $800,000 for 2024. The golf course expenses are $55,000 that we're anticipating, not to exceed. And the interest income is $143,000. So our golf reserves at the end of 2024 should be $4.2 million. So we're talking about the golf renovation in 2025. It has gone out to bid to get actual numbers from contractors. It should be in on November 11th. The committee will open up those bids, take a look at what they come in at, and see if, where it is to what money we have set aside for this golf renovation. So I checked, there's $4,661,000 that we'll have by the end of 2025 for the golf renovation in our current golf course reserves. So you can see there's difference for the bunkers and the fairways, the driving range. The bridges also are going to be an issue. The one bridge we do have to replace. Coming up, that's the one on number 14. You'll see the irrigation system of almost $5 million. The cost that we got in, just an estimate, was $3.1 million. So we're hoping that it'll come in less when it's November 11th. Mark did work with some of the contractors and the architect to try to bring that down. We're looking at Rainbird as well. So these would be the funds. Nothing's been approved yet. The golf committee first a recommendation has to come from the ad hoc committee. That recommendation has to go to the golf committee. The golf committee has to approve the renovation for it to go to the master board, and the master board has the final say on it. So there's been a lot of rumor mills on what the cost of the golf renovation is. We don't have the physical cost. We only had an estimate. So when they did the town hall meeting, they were out there, this is something we got to do. This is what they're saying it could possibly cost. And until you actually get the estimates in, the thing that it is the 2025 renovation, looking at starting to possibly burn up the grass in April of 2025 and reopen is the goal by December 15th of 2025. We'll know more once that comes in. There's a lot of hard work. We know they'll probably going to have shortfall funding, and how we get the rest of that funding. You only have 2 options: special assessment, loan, or how we're going to do it. So the proposed 2024 golf dues has an increase of $596, almost 13%, of which you'll see the replacement reserves went up $250 for the golf renovation. and $100 more went out for the equipment reserves, and it was $246 for the maintenance fees. So it's $265 total if you are a golf member and you have the golf and the social on a quarterly basis. All right, questions, answers. I did want to hit on just a couple things, because I've been asked, you know, Renee, are you going to compare us to other clubs? And I can tell you, I do that on an ongoing basis with 24 clubs. And I have a spreadsheet I can share with you today, but is it good to show you 2024 numbers when the comparison I have is 2023? I can tell you out of 24 clubs, we're all in the same boat. The overall average is 12% increase. So we're no different. We're actually a little bit lower. I also been told, do you keep data of where our dues are? I know this is a complicated spreadsheet. If you know me, I love numbers. So you can see overall, during the years that are highlighted, that in 2023, social had no increase. This year, we're anticipating to have the $403, and that's mainly due to the service charge that was eliminated. And you can see the golf due. So I have a member emailing today to say this is the highest increase we've ever had of 10%. That's not true. The highest increase that we had is in 2020. So we're right in the boat with everyone else. So I can share with you. I don't know how you share that. Hopefully it'll come up in a minute. This is a spreadsheet I have that I compiled with 24 clubs. And I did this 7 years ago. And every year I've gotten help from other general managers to help make it even better. It's almost 200 line items of the different dues, the different how many employees you had, the full-time employees, what the costs are, what the losses are, to see of our comparison. I see it's not going to share. When we get the 2024 numbers, I share this with the finance committee, and I do it every year. But to give the numbers is premature, but I can tell you that with the dues that would show up, it was showing the overall average dues for 2023 for a golf member were $9,425 plus $1,074 for your reserve. We're, for our 2024 proposed, are under that number. Same with the social dues, $4,667 with a reserve of $806. With our proposed 2024 dues versus 2023, we're under that. And most of the, is a 12% average of what they're going to be increasing. All right, any questions, please come up and use the mic. I know it was a lot of numbers. Robbie, could you tell us, Shane, that our screen isn't sharing anymore? I hit something, I guess.
It is on.
It is on.
I am Lenny Saunders. I have a question. The $45,000 that we pay for the lake, why can't we put that in as an average $15,000 every year instead of hitting this once every 3 years?
Okay, so as the storm, so the question is the lake management that we have for the drainage. Every year they do, every 3 years, but we waited to do 6, the scoping of the drain for debris that has happened due to the different storms that we had. It's not beneficial, and the scoping of it is more than $15,000. They go with camera and divers on all of the drain pipes and the interconnects to this development to Eagle Ridge.
We couldn't just put it in as an estimated for every year rather than hitting this once every 3 years? My question.
So you mean to put it towards a deposit down to hold it until it's ready?
So it's budgeting it over 3 years rather than just.
That can happen, which coming later after this one in 2024, we can do that.
Yeah.
Well, Shane, I tried to show that spreadsheet, oh, that went off. All right, any more questions? Mr. Huffman?
Lenny, you asked about accrual for the $15,000 a year. We actually collect like an accrual. This, when we spend the $45,000, it's because we turn into reserves. $15,000 a year. Spending is all we're talking about, not the accrual. Technically, we're putting it in there. All of our reserves are collected on a yearly basis. And then when we spend like, $5 million for the golf course, so we've been collecting it for the last 15 years. So just what you asked about, technically, that collecting it, we're just spending it.
And why are we showing it as a bulk item, once every 3 years?
But, yeah, that's because the contract that we have, when we cleaned all the drains out 2 years ago, the contractor said we should probably do this on a regular basis, because we were really in bad shape. So now every 3 years, we've done it a couple times. And you notice our water flow is pretty good. We keep it up. But the accrual is over time, just a piece there. It's just, we have to announce when we're going to spend it.
Any other questions? I know it's a lot of data.
Hi, I'm Jeff Bogart. This is a general question, actually two questions. What worries you most about this budget? And what are you most optimistic in connection with the budget?
Okay, were we conservative on the budget of revenues coming in? I think the cover counts that we had were good. I think the overall average of $13 for a lunch for food and $19 for dinner, we could have went higher to be more competitive than the other clubs. But I felt we'd stay conservative on that. So the revenues coming in, I believe, are excellent as far as the food and beverage. We were conservative on how many retails we'll have here. So we have 62 that we budgeted, and which this year already, we have a lot more than that, about 80. So I don't want to see any members leaving here. Usually when they leave, a few years later, they're coming back because they miss our family here. But I think that we will exceed that number, which will also make our social revenue come in, plus the operating of the 3,000. I think interest income, I hope it stays at 4.95%. We do have an election coming up that's at the end of next year, so hopefully the interest rates will get that $45,000 in an operation. As far as expenses, we nailed it to the ground. I can only hope that we do not have repairs that are not in the reserves, that some of our equipment is getting older. I can tell you we have a crack in the pool stair that's over in that area that unfortunately I'm getting 3 bids. I received a bid number 1 last night of $29,000. But we're hoping we don't have to close that pool down. And incidents like that, you don't budget for it. We do have reserves for the pool for refurbishment. That will be going towards that expense. I can say we are as conservative as possible. There's nothing overly aggressive here at all. And we do zero-based budgets, start with a spreadsheet of none, and spend 5.5 months drilling it. You're welcome.
Hi, my name's Norm Miller. Just a general question. You got the budgets. You look at it
Then every month, so January, you budget January's expenses are gonna be X dollars, January's revenue is gonna be X dollars, and at the end of the month, we look and say whether you need it or not, so you can kind of see where things are going.
Yes, so we do, inventories on a monthly basis here, and we do financials on a monthly. So depending on weather, can be time of fertilizer, things like that going, but every month the finance committee meets, we go over the financials, and it's usually the third Wednesday of the month at 2:00, and we see where our variances, and there is a variance report to show why there's a variance or why we've done better. The one point all year that we had this year is people are enjoying the dining operations more, and they are having to keep, overtime hours in the kitchen and here to accommodate those. So we have been over in, labor, but then we were over in revenue. But we have to remember, for every dollar you bring in, it costs us 62 cents more. So we're here for you guys, but yes, every month, 12 months, when I reflected like the revenue and when in February, it's that way for every month.
Do you, is your monthly budget 1/12 of the total budget, or do you realize that summer months, your budget's lower because of less staff and that kind of thing?
Oh, yeah, it's based upon that month. Oh, yeah, it definitely varies.
And one other thing, I am not a golfer, but looking into future reserves, seeing what's going on in this wilderness nation, we're talking about equipment, buying equipment, we're looking at possibility of being forced into electric and all that compared to diesel and all that, considering the way the trend's going and what's happened. Just as a general long-term foresight, so we don't get caught.
Behind the eight ball. That'll be the golf committee and Mark Thomas, with him getting educated, meeting with, West Coast Turfs and, John Deere, of where the trend is, what makes the most sense. But you're absolutely right, those are things to look at. And once you talk about that on electric cars, I'm just gonna mention this, it has nothing to do with the budget for us, but it's then where I get emails, I got an electric car, when are you gonna get electric hookups at the clubhouse? Electric hookups are gonna be at your house or at your condominium association, not up here. Just the FYI, I didn't budget some stuff like that. Any other?
Thank you, Renee. Very complete, reading of what's, happening in the legends. My name is Roger Pearson. Is this proposal or budget gonna be online?
Yes, this whole Zoom presentation is being recorded. We'll keep it for 7 years, and it will be on the website when O'Shane gets it up this afternoon.
So I can go to governance and find this.
It'll be on, as soon as you log on to the website, it'll be articles, what's new, right there. But the actual budget, the proposed budget, will be in the board packet, the third Wednesday of this month, I think it's 18th. It will be in the board packet, the budget that they'll be voting on, and the actual budget that gets approved will be on the website under government, financing documents. And that will have the details of the budget. It won't have the whole presentation I just gave, but that will be on the website this afternoon. Good morning.
Explain to me the shortfall of the 18% service charge going away. How are we making up that 18%? Does that money all go to the staff, or do we put money?
Display for the computer.
Okay, so the way the service charge works is you were charged 18% on your ticket. That 18% was credited towards our payroll and related of the restaurant, it did not go to service. So we did away with that, and now, starting January 1st, on your ticket, you're going to, like, going to a restaurant, it'll say, gratuity, add gratuity, you can put what you want, but it'll be recommended of 18, 20, like you get at the restaurants, that goes directly to the servers.
How will we make up the shortfall?
Well, that's where we got creative of bringing an extra $165,000 in other ways, so that the overall loss of the restaurant is only 1.5 million today. Good morning.
I question what he said. We have an increase in our social distancing.
But I should have this, I should be mirroring the screen.
It was eliminated, so it did have an impact, yes.
How much?
Okay, but not on the projector.
So there's
So
three
you're on
hundred and
screen sharing on-
$83,000 that was an increase in expenses, but we had $165,000 more revenues coming here, so
We
it's
got
net
one and we
$380,000.
need to make one and one.
Or what we would have paid this.
No,
Is it screen
now
sharing?
they're basing upon their wages that you're going to give them gratuity now.
Increase per unit was over $300. Shipping, average, tip, $500 minimum.
Well, what's gonna happen is you're gonna have a savings, the more you dine here, the more the savings you're gonna have, because you're not gonna have to pay sales tax on that 18%, which you have to. And you're no longer going to have to pay the 18% automatically, you have the gratuity the way you feel that they should be given to. So the impact to you is probably, depending on how much you dine, it's not the full amount.
And in other words, now we're going back to just regular gratuity.
The regular gratuity. Not with their wages, no, it's just that we rolled in the service charge into the overall operation. Yeah, so you're just gonna pay for your $13 plus your, sales tax, there's no longer plus. There's just plus for tax, and then you can add your gratuity. This overall, hopefully, is going to bring the level of service even at a higher standard to get your gratuity money. Anyone else? I'd like to thank you for coming. It will be on the website. If you have any questions, feel free to stop in and see me, email me. I'm always here. You can get me 24/7 on the phone. Oh, yeah, that's a spreadsheet, yeah. Hey, listen, wanna talk about numbers, there's that spreadsheet I was talking about. It shows all the different clubs, and it shows all the different categories, and I highlighted in red some of them, that shows the dues for 2023. And the increase rate. Oh. Great.
We have our final numbers.
But then the next school. Thank you. Yeah, it's two that we have 1,291 members, they average is 799. Yeah, and when you compare those things, you have to look at them.